What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk a little bit more about Dragon Age, the Veilguard. We got the reviews yesterday, did the video on that. We've had 24 hours to kind of think things over, and I just kind of want to talk about the noise with this game, and I mean both sides, right? Because ultimately, and I've always pushed this, you make the determinations. You decide if you want to play this game, if you don't want to play it, if you're buying it, not buying it, whatever. I totally respect that, and that's kind of part of what I want to talk about in this video because, look, Dragon Age is loud. It's loud. And for those that are going to say, it's only on Twitter, couldn't be less true, okay? It's definitely loudest on Twitter, but it is everywhere, okay? You make YouTube videos on this thing. You put posts pretty much anywhere. You're going to get both sides kind of coming at it. And, for a game like this, I will say it's kind of tough because this is a game with immense pressure on it, right? Where it's like all eyes we're always going to kind of be on it. Now, you'll have, these other, you'll have these kind of wars, right, breaking out, and these, battle warriors ready to go, right? So, you had the culture war stuff ready to go, right? They were both standing on their sidelines, and they were ready to charge at each other with the, there were even, journalists, I think Paul Tassi, right, said yesterday that, hey, once people get to see this game, it's going to be very loud for that, anti-woke crowd. But then it's well, if it's going to be the loudest game in the world for them, is there actually bad stuff in there? Did they just put stuff in there to put it in there? That's where I kind of get involved, where it's I generally stay out of the, woke, anti-woke stuff. But if you're going to have characters, if you're going to have things in there and just force fed down our throats, instead of actually having substance to it, which I think is probably the best way of handling it, then you might get those battles. And it's harder for me to kind of say, well, no, you're not allowed to fight about it. When it's well, look, I mean, if you're going at it because it has a certain character and you hate those kinds of people, okay, you are just certain people and there's nothing really you can say to them, right? That's kind of always been my mentality with these things. The same thing with Assassin's Creed with the Yusuke stuff. If you don't want black characters in games because you don't like black people, well, I mean, there's really not much we can talk about, right? Now, if you want to talk about other stuff, we can talk about it. But, for that specific thing, what are you really supposed to say? However, can it get a little bit more complex than that? Sometimes it can. And in that situation, Dragon Age might have a legit battle ahead of it because there might be some legitimate, interesting points brought up from sides, right, on Dragon Age. We'll see. Again, the interesting thing, another thing I want to talk about in this video, well, actually kind of the title, it's just beginning. This is just the start, right? You go back even to yesterday, I was talking about with the reviews. I think from yesterday to today, I don't think maybe one review was added to the Metacritic pool. But what I actually did find by, just kind of taking a break, I played I played Call of Duty actually last night, but just taking a break, sitting back. There actually are several YouTubers that were invited to the preview events that were actually talked by BioWare and said, hey, you're going to get codes. We're promising you codes that were denied codes, that did not get codes. So remember I said yesterday about the cherry picking thing? There was cherry picking, and I found a couple YouTubers that actually got left out of that. So, again, I don't want to I don't like making the same video just to make the same video. Over the next couple days, it's going to be very interesting how this goes because, the woke, anti-woke stuff, that's going to start picking up. Get your battle hats ready because here we go. You have that. But honestly, over these next few days, I mean, I guess Friday, they have a couple days to prepare, right? You got a couple days to, rally the troops. But on Friday, you are going to have anybody that wants to, they're going to be playing the game. The critics that were snubbed the review codes are going to play it. They're going to have thought. You're going to get more YouTube videos that have reviews that might be positive, might be negative, right? The battle is just beginning. And I was just recording a Mass Effect video, so I'm going to kind of bring some of those thoughts into this one, kind of behind the scenes. This game needs a win. And we've talked about that so much. And that's, honestly, that's, I think, what's maybe most disappointing about this entire thing is, you talk about what we talked about yesterday, and over these next few days, again, I think it's going to be loud and it's going to be constant. And BioWare needs a win. That's the important thing to remember above all else. And there's narratives that are said all the time in the gaming industry, so I don't want to kind of be that guy, but I also kind of want to, because for this specific situation, I genuinely believe it. it, right? There's narratives all the time if a studio shuts down or if a game goes wrong or gets canceled, whatever, there can be an entire narrative built from that one thing. I don't necessarily like to jump on those things, but for this, I truly do believe it. BioWare needs Dragon Age to do well, and I think it needs it to do well across the board. And the thing is, when you got the skill ups of the world saying that he does not recommend it, and he leaned into it, right? Mr. Matty Plays, now he had his own drama, but he leaned into it, and you might have others. In fact, you had others besides just those two, and you might have others over the next couple days. Look, I'm not saying you need every single one of them to say overwhelmingly positive things. That would be nice for BioWare, but it's obviously, I don't think it's going to happen. But the thing is, okay, well, does a skill up reflect anything, right? When people get this game, and this is another part to it, not just critics, not just reviewers, because ultimately, if you don't care, you don't care, right? If you don't care what IGN gave it, that's good, actually. I actually would support that. But, IGN, the game, even people like me, right? Content creators, if you don't care what we think about, that's totally fine. Honestly, you should think for yourself anyway, right? But there is also a problem, because if on Friday, this game starts getting torn to shreds, because it's also going to be a mix, right? And this is where BioWare's got to be careful. It's going to be a mix, I truly believe. And if you label everybody that doesn't like the game as, because again, that culture war thing is going to be in there. If you label everybody a certain thing, you have a big problem on your hands, because this doesn't seem like a game that's going to overwhelmingly work with an overwhelming amount of people. I do think this is going to be a game that's going to be mixed. You had it yesterday. You had Skill Up and Mortismal Gaming talk about the same thing. One thought it was game of the year. One thought it was terrible, disgraceful. That's the kind of game that this is. Now, that it depends on what you feel, right, when you play the game. Do you agree with one versus the other? But that's the kind of game that this is. That one person might look at it and say it's trash. The other says, no, actually, this is really, really good. That's what's going to happen on Friday. And depending on how they react to it, I think that's one part, because people are going to be watching social media, and then how the game performs, sales. Scores are important, and, the Steam rating and Metacritic and all that stuff. Those are all important. The PlayStation Store, how many stars it has. No, those are probably important in some ways, but I think sales are obviously the other one. And if people are just going to say no, or maybe they overwhelmingly buy it, right, this is going to be big, because I truly believe BioWare needs this. And I'm not saying okay, well, that means you must support it. No. You do whatever you want to do. But I'm saying from BioWare's perspective, they probably want all of us to buy this game, and they need the win. So it's, for me, and I mean, I guess content creation helps it out a bit. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes, right? This is a game that was always going to be loud, and I feel like from what we learned about it yesterday, because I can tell you, from my perspective, there were some things in reviews that I hated to hear. And I got depressed, where it's oh, God damn it. But at the other side of things, there were some things I thought were good. And it's okay, at the end of the day, I left yesterday with, I'm getting the game. I mean, I guess maybe maybe you can tell some of the tone, or where the writing is going and stuff. But ultimately, my mindset is the game can still prove to me whatever it wants to prove, right? If the game is going to prove to me it's good, it's going to do it. If the game is going to prove to me it's terrible, I'm not going to go in thinking it's complete garbage, or it's going to be a complete masterpiece. Right now, the slate is pretty clean, and I'm just waiting to go in, or I'm waiting for it to do its thing. But the internet isn't like that, and that's okay. The internet's very different, and it wouldn't be what it is if it didn't have these kind of situations. So just wanted to, again, kind of talk about it from my perspective and stuff of the kind of conversations that people are going to have. It does get exhausting. It's another thing I want to just throw into this video. It is loud. It is, I wouldn't, look, I'm not here to pity you, and I'm not doing that kind of stuff. You have your own issues. I have my own issues. We don't need to do that. And it gets, I don't know, for me, it makes me almost disconnected, which I don't actually think is all that bad, to be honest with you. But when it comes to games like this, or honestly even a Life is Strange, because they're not having the exact same situation, but they're definitely having big situations, it just kind of makes me want to go away. And maybe that's okay. Maybe people want me to do that, but it makes me say, okay, and again, I think actually this is maybe for the best for a lot of people. Just, I'm gonna play these games. I'm going to experience them. I'm going to have my thoughts. I'm not afraid to say what I think against other people's thoughts, okay? I'm long past that, right? I'm getting older. It's not where I'm at in my life. But to sit and read and participate in the constant online yelling, Now, some of it's sometimes necessary. Hey, you need to send a message, or you want to send a message. I send my messages my own way, right? I make YouTube videos. I'm going to have my thoughts on Dragon Age. I'm going to have my thoughts on Life is Strange. You'll see them through the videos. But, other people, take to the streets, take to social media, and do their thing. And again, it's all part of the game, the online game. You can complain, you can participate, whatever. It's just something I kind of wanted to talk about in this video. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.